Aging is often described as a slow, inevitable surrender, like a candle quietly burning down to the wick. But inside your body, nothing about aging is passive. It is not a gentle fading. It is a constant, microscopic battle between damage and repair, between chaos and order, between the forces that pull your biology toward decline and the systems designed to hold that decline back. Every second, trillions of chemical reactions ignite within you. Oxygen is used to create energy, and in that process, small reactive fragments, free radicals, are formed. Proteins bend and sometimes misfold. DNA is copied and occasionally miswritten. Membranes are stressed. Mitochondria, the tiny power plants of your cells, generate the energy that keeps you alive, yet in doing so they also produce byproducts that slowly wear the machinery itself. Aging begins not when wrinkles appear, but when these microscopic disturbances accumulate faster than your body can repair them. Your organism is not defenseless. It is built with extraordinary maintenance systems. Enzymes patrol your DNA, correcting errors. Antioxidant networks neutralize reactive molecules. Damaged proteins are dismantled and recycled. Immune cells remove debris. For decades, biochemists have understood that health is deeply connected to the internal chemical environment, the precise balance of nutrients, cofactors, and signaling molecules that allow these repair systems to function at full capacity. The idea that optimal health depends on maintaining the right molecular conditions inside the body reshaped how many scientists began to view prevention, not as something mystical, but as chemistry guided toward stability. Yet modern life often pushes biology in the opposite direction. Constant excess calories keep growth pathways permanently switched on. Chronic stress floods the bloodstream with signals meant only for emergencies. Artificial light extends the day far beyond what the circadian clock evolved to handle. Movement is replaced by stillness. Recovery is sacrificed for stimulation. None of these factors seem dramatic in isolation, but together they tilt the balance, subtly, persistently, toward faster cellular wear. Aging accelerates when repair falls behind. Inside each cell, a network of genetic regulators senses energy availability and stress. When resources are abundant, the body prioritizes growth and reproduction. When resources become scarce or conditions become challenging, a different program activates, one focused on preservation. Proteins associated with longevity pathways increase DNA repair, stabilize mitochondria, and improve metabolic efficiency. This is why mild, controlled stress can strengthen the organism. The body interprets manageable hardship as a signal to become more resilient. For most of human history, survival required adaptation. Food was inconsistent. Temperatures fluctuated. Physical exertion was unavoidable. Those pressures shaped biological systems that expect cycles, effort followed by recovery, scarcity followed by nourishment, darkness followed by light. When those cycles disappear and comfort becomes constant, protective pathways grow quiet. Cells become less efficient. Inflammation lingers. Metabolism loses flexibility. The sensation we call getting older is often the outward expression of this internal slowdown. Energy production declining, repair mechanisms weakening, communication between cells becoming noisy and imprecise. But none of this is purely dictated by the calendar. Biological age, the functional state of your cells, can diverge dramatically from chronological age depending on how these internal systems are treated. Your body is not simply counting years. It is recording signals. Every meal, every night of sleep or lack of it, every hour spent moving or sitting, every exposure to sunlight or artificial glow. All of these inputs shape the chemical environment inside your cells. Over time, that environment determines whether repair remains strong or begins to falter. Aging, Then is not a single event. It is a pattern, and patterns can be changed. Consider what happens when the body is never given a reason to conserve energy. When food arrives constantly, insulin remains elevated, and cells gradually become less responsive to its signal. Excess glucose and lipids circulate longer than they should, increasing oxidative stress and promoting inflammatory pathways that were meant to activate only briefly. Over years, this metabolic congestion interferes with the delicate communication between organs. Energy is abundant, yet vitality declines. Introduce periodic scarcity, and the chemistry shifts. During stretches without incoming calories, the body begins to search internally for fuel. Stored glycogen is depleted, fat is mobilized, and a remarkable housekeeping process intensifies. Damaged cellular components are broken down and recycled into usable building blocks. This internal renewal improves efficiency, reduces accumulated waste, and restores sensitivity to metabolic signals. What feels like restraint at the behavioral level becomes restoration at the cellular level. Movement triggers a similar transformation. When muscles contract repeatedly, they release signaling molecules that travel through the bloodstream, instructing tissues to become more receptive to glucose, encouraging the growth of new mitochondria, and enhancing circulation. The temporary stress of exertion activates repair pathways that leave the organism stronger than before. Without this stimulus, muscles atrophy, energy production falls, and the entire metabolic network becomes sluggish. Temperature itself can act as a messenger. Brief exposure to cold encourages the activation of brown adipose tissue, increasing energy expenditure and improving metabolic flexibility. Heat exposure, such as from saunas, stimulates proteins that help stabilize cellular structures under stress, enhancing resilience. These are not extreme interventions. They are echoes of environmental variability the human body evolved alongside. Light governs another master switch, the circadian rhythm. When bright light enters the eyes in the morning, hormonal signals align metabolism, alertness, and body temperature with the day's demands. As darkness returns, repair processes intensify. Growth hormone pulses, immune activity recalibrates, and neural waste is cleared. When artificial light extends deep into the night, this choreography is disrupted. Sleep becomes shallow, recovery incomplete, and the next day begins with chemistry already out of balance. Sleep is not passive rest. It is active reconstruction. During deep stages, the brain reduces external input and diverts energy toward maintenance, strengthening memory circuits, clearing metabolic byproducts, regulating emotional centers. Across the body, tissues use this window to repair micro-damage accumulated through the day. Chronic sleep restriction shortens this window, forcing systems to operate without full restoration, accelerating the sense of fatigue often mistaken for unavoidable aging. Even psychological stress leaves a measurable imprint. Short bursts of challenge can sharpen focus and enhance adaptation, but prolonged exposure keeps cortisol elevated, suppressing repair, altering immune responses, and increasing the likelihood of metabolic dysfunction. The body was designed for waves of intensity followed by recovery, not a constant hum of pressure. What emerges from all of these mechanisms is a single principle. The human organism thrives on rhythmic challenge balanced with deliberate recovery. Too little stimulation leads to fragility. Too much leads to breakdown. Between those extremes lies a narrow corridor where resilience is built. Inside that corridor, cells become more efficient at producing energy. Antioxidant defenses strengthen. Communication between tissues becomes clearer. Inflammation resolves more quickly. The outward result is not immortality, but something far more attainable: extended years of strength, clarity, and independence. Aging slows when the body is reminded how to adapt. At the molecular scale, longevity is less about fighting time and more about preserving information. DNA carries the blueprint, but the way that blueprint is read, through epigenetic signals shaped by environment and behavior, determines which genes remain active and which fall silent. Lifestyle does not rewrite your genetic code, yet it continuously influences how that code is expressed. Small, repeated choices accumulate into lasting biological instructions. When energy systems function efficiently, mitochondria generate fewer damaging byproducts. When nutrient status is adequate, enzymatic reactions proceed without strain. When stress is applied in controlled doses, protective pathways remain alert. Over months and years, these subtle advantages compound, preserving tissue function and delaying the onset of many age-related declines. None of this requires extreme measures. It requires consistency, patterns that the body can rely on, regular movement that challenges muscles without destroying them, periods of eating that nourish without overwhelming, intervals of rest that allow repair to complete, exposure to natural light that anchors internal clocks, moments of intentional discomfort that remind ancient survival programs to stay active. The philosophy beneath these actions is not punishment. It is alignment. The closer daily life resembles the conditions human physiology evolved to handle, the less friction accumulates inside the system. Biology begins to operate as it was designed, flexible, responsive, capable of recovering from stress rather than being defined by it. Over time, the narrative of aging shifts. Instead of a steady decline, it becomes a negotiation, one in which your habits continuously vote for either resilience or deterioration. Wrinkles may still appear, hair may still silver, but beneath the surface the machinery can remain remarkably capable. Strength can persist. Cognition can remain sharp. Energy can feel stable rather than scarce. The most powerful realization is that the body is not waiting for permission to heal. It is constantly attempting to do so. Given the right environment, repair accelerates. Given the right signals, protective genes activate. Given the right rhythms, systems that once felt exhausted begin to regain momentum. You are not separate from your biology. You are the primary influence shaping it. Every deliberate choice, standing instead of sitting, stepping into morning light, allowing true darkness at night, pausing between meals, pushing muscles to work, breathing through controlled stress instead of fleeing it. These are not trivial habits. They are instructions written directly into the chemistry of your cells. Aging does not stop, but its speed is negotiable. Within you exists a network of repair that has kept your heart beating, your wounds closing, your thoughts forming since before you were aware of it. That network is still listening, still adapting, still capable of remarkable recovery when given the signals it was built to recognize. The future of your health is not hidden in distant technology alone. It is being shaped quietly, today, by the patterns you repeat. Time will continue to move forward, as it always has. But the condition in which you meet that time, strong or fragile, clear or clouded, resilient or worn, is not predetermined. Your cells are not counting birthdays. They are responding to how you live. And with every intentional action, you teach them, again and again, how to remain alive not just longer, but stronger.